Hello everyone, this is Ponder on Weather. In this update, we're going to be talking about a strong May cold front that's going to bring much cooler temperatures for the rest of the week, along with some severe weather and flooding rains. So if you're new to the channel, click the subscribe button and the notification bell to get all my daily updates to keep you ahead of the storm. So let's get right to it. Here is the overall watches and warnings map as of this morning. May the 11th, and we still have those winter storm warnings happening right now in Colorado, where they had that snow flying overnight. We have winter freeze watches happening in portions of Wisconsin and to Michigan, with some very cold air continuing to drain down from the north. And we've got those flash flood watches out here in East Texas. That's going to be going on through Wednesday morning, as we have a lot more rain in store for you guys down in Texas as well as Louisiana. And we even have a pocket up here into West Virginia and portions of Pennsylvania that's also under a freeze watch with some colder temperatures. So a lot of the country is feeling the effects of this colder air. Here's the actual temperatures. If we kind of zoom out and kind of give you a big picture, you can definitely see we have 30s well to the north. We've got 32 in Denver, 48 off the west coast here, 61 in Los Angeles, 57 in Dallas. There's your cold front that stalled well to the south here. That's brought some snow down here up in around the Colorado region, and that brought the heavier rain and some hail over yesterday in and around the Dallas-Worth area, much of Texas. But yeah, now it's bringing some heavier rain this morning into East Texas. But yet there's another system that's going to be coming across later on this afternoon. Here's your latest satellite picture, so you can really get a feel of what's happening. Here's that tropical storm that formed earliest in the season. That has since faded, but you can actually see a lot of the moisture is getting fed into this southern jet here, and that's helping create the lift and the instability. So the combination of this remnants of this leftover tropical storm and that stalled frontal boundary down to the south, and yet we have another disturbance that's coming along into West Texas here later on this afternoon. That is going to create the lift and create those showers and thunderstorms and more hail-producing thunderstorms, as well as this will continue to moving across from west to east. So let's get right into it. Here is the big story of the week with those well below average temperature anomalies. You can see the graph here at the bottom. So will give you a depiction of where this purple lies. Your average temperature would be 20 degrees below average temperature. So that is definitely unusual for May. But you can definitely see out here in Alaska, it's warm. Out here in the West Coast, it's warm. Up here in Canada, it's warm. So the colder spot is right in the heart of the U.S. and right in the central part of the U.S. with those 35-degree below normal anomalies. And that's why it was able to snow in Colorado yesterday. And it's still snow flying this morning. But those colder temperatures will continue to drain, and you can see where it's warm. That's ahead of the cold front. So you can definitely see in Houston, we're pushing almost 80 degrees this morning, but yet it's only 55 in Dallas. So yeah, there's definitely a big difference in where you live in Texas. But along that boundary, we yet have another marginal risk of severe weather. So what actually happened yesterday, this is some very shallow air. Okay, so when you have shallow air, there was a warm air, a little bit of a warm layer aloft as well, but then above that was some very cold air. So that actually created the instability. So even though we were under a marginal risk, we did have some bigger hail producers, and actually up to 4 inches up here in Ponder, Texas. That was just west of Denton, out here in Denton County last night. But they had inundated of 1 to 2 inch hailstones in around the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But it looks like it might be like the same, same kind of setup that was happened yesterday could happen today. Even already this morning, around that disturbance that we mentioned at the beginning of the video, there's already a possibility they could be issuing a severe thunderstorm watch out here in West Texas over the next hour or two. So as this disturbance will move across, and as it taps into that moisture off into the Pacific there, with that leftover tropical storm and that stalled frontal boundary, that has all the instability to create that lift. And yes, we could have some hailstones falling and that 50-degree air later on this afternoon in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, San Antonio, going into all the way into Jacksonville, Florida, going into Austin. These are areas along the boundary here. Could see some hailstones later on this afternoon. Let's zoom into Texas. Here's what the radar depiction what may look like by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. You can see this disturbance that look like they might have a tropical, severe thunderstorm watch out here this morning. Will be over much of North Texas by about 2 o'clock this afternoon with some very heavy rain. And they already had that flash flood watch out here in East Texas. So unfortunately, it looks like it's definitely going to be raining and be stormy by the time you have to pick up the kiddos this afternoon. And by the time you leave work, it could be, pouring as well. So definitely take extra time to do that. But like I mentioned, the main story is going to be the just relentless amount of flow of continuing cooler air funneling down from the north. Now we get into Wednesday, and man, that sinks all the way. So you've been hanging tight in Houston with not feeling it, but now you're going to be feeling that colder air as that finally wins the battle, and it's going to continue to press south and all the way down to the deep south. You're going to feel those colder anomalies of 20 degrees below average all the way, say, in the Del Rio, Texas area. So you're not going to miss out on this deal, but it's going to be all the way down into Louisiana and Mississippi area as well. And even parts of the Carolinas are going to get in the action by the time we get into Wednesday. Florida, still hanging tight, not going to be there just quite yet. And you'll get a subtle piece of it later on this end of the week. But there's your surface map as we go into Wednesday. So there's going to be a lot of rain happening between now and then. We've got more rain as that disturbance down to the south and that stalled frontal boundary, just kind of those overrunning conditions further south now into South Texas and much of the southeast, getting into the Carolinas. You can see it's pretty dry out here in the western parts of the U.S., fairly dry up north. You can see what's happening up in Canada. That's all the, much colder air is well up into the north and into Canada. And then as we go into Thursday, yeah, you can definitely see the ridge starting to continue to build out west. It's still warm in Alaska. It's still warm out west. It's still warm and more or less southern Canada. The colder air is well to the north up here, the north. But man, underneath you get that divergence, and man, it's that sinking air that continues to drain, and it goes all the way into Mexico now. Man, all the way into Mexico for May 13th standards with some cooler anomalies. We'll be like, what is going on? So yeah, that is definitely some chillier stuff for May standards, as this will continue to drain into parts of the Florida Panhandle by then as we get into the day on Thursday. So you can definitely see it's more or less the central and eastern 2/3 of the U.S. Up in the northeast, it'll start to modify a little bit. But as we go into Thursday, that system will finally clear out. We got pretty much clear skies across the U.S. There's not much happening. The only rain that's going to be happening then is that boundary along Florida. So finally, you'll start getting into the rain chances on Thursday as we go into Thursday for Florida. And then Friday, those temperatures continue to start to modify a little bit. It's not as deepening cold as it was, but it's definitely cooler than average for much of the south and the southeast as the pattern continues to remain in effect with the ridge out west and warmer air to the north, colder air underneath. There's your Friday look on the expanded version. You can see out in the Caribbean where you're going to have just the scattered showers. You got another disturbance trying to come off the coast of Alaska here with some pretty clear skies overall for much of Friday as the system kind of more or less reloads as we go into the weekend. There is your weekend. The temperatures continue to more or less moderate. Still cooler than average, but not nearly as intense as what you're going to be seeing for coming up today and tomorrow standards, but definitely still cooler than average. We continue the day on the Saturday as we kind of warm up, and as we start bringing that southwest flow, we could be seeing some more scattered rain showers, more or less in South Texas, and that'll be entering the central part of the U.S. You can definitely see where this flow is up to the north off this northwest flow, where these systems will come across and more or less miss out on the west coast as they come up north and then they swing down to the southeast. So unfortunately, you're going to be remaining dry for much of the west, as that ridge will just be locked and loaded out there. You can see by Sunday, so this is still about 5-6 days away, but we more or less are about average, but we definitely see another cool shot of colder air trying to sneak back into the picture for the following week and maybe reinforce those temperatures. Here's the outlook by Sunday. As yet, yeah, we have another disturbance going to move across. I think it starts to fill back into Texas and much of Oklahoma, much of Kansas, with some more, scattered showers and thunderstorms, as those temperatures will heat back up to more or less, slightly below average. But adding another 20 degrees to the mix will add some more instability back in the atmosphere and create those rain showers. But man, do you think, hey, is it ever going to warm up? Are we ever going to look? I mean, I'm trying to find some warmer temperature for you guys, but it's not going to be in the foreseeable future. I took you through the week, and this is maybe even going to the following week. On the 19th, you can definitely see we have yet that other cold front that'll be sinking south by the time we get into Tuesday. And here's your Wednesday look. I mean, here's your Wednesday look by the 19th. That's still 8 days away. But just to kind of cover to show you, the pattern still looks to be locked and loaded in place for the foreseeable future, at least for the next 7 to 10 days, as much colder air continues to drain from the north. So here's your precipitation for the next 5, 6, 7 days through the rest of the week. High and dry out west, not much happening out west, out with the ridge, with the well above average temperatures, very dry conditions. The setups continue to be in the central part of the U.S. with some heavier rains extending further south into South Texas, into East Texas, especially along the boundary in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama, for sure, along the south here. And then, as these systems continue to ride up the coast, not as much heavier rain for portions of the Northeast. So that'll kind of give you an idea of what's happening for the rest of the week. So I hope that this video was helpful. I do like it. Definitely leave your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to catch the latest update where I protect you for in the storm.